Hi, and welcome. I'm No Time. I'm an environment artist who has spent the last week or so hyperfixated on creating custom maps for Road to Vostok, as well as figuring out how to best mimic the look and feel of the original maps by utilizing as many of the original systems as possible. This video will guide you through a step-by-step process of, I don't know, doing that. Let's get on with it. So what you're gonna do first is go to this GitHub page I've created. I have it linked down in the description. And this will be our template for our map. It has some links we're gonna follow here. First thing we're gonna do is download GDRE, or Godot reverse engineering tools. So just go to the GitHub page, go here, download the latest version, like so. Extract it somewhere. I have it extracted right here. Launch it. And up here under RE tools, choose recover project and go to your Road to Vostok install folder, probably in Steam. Choose rtv.exe, open, and GDRE will read the project file from, or it will decompile the project file from the executable. Like you can see here, this is a Godot project. Then we're gonna extract it somewhere. I just have a folder here. Call it RTV modding project. Select the folder, extract. Now that's done. You can see GDRE tells us use Godot editor version 4.6.1 to edit this project. Click that. Download Godot 4.6.1. Choose whatever version, Windows version is down here. Download that. Then go back to the map template repository. We go for here. This is done. This is done. We have our Godot version. Then we're gonna download mod zip exporter from Rehun. Go up here, download zip. Keep that open somewhere. I have it on my second monitor for now. And then we're gonna download the map template. So that's just from right here on the releases. Don't download it like this, or you could do that, but you're gonna get all the GitHub garbage with it. So download it from here. Map template.zip. I have it open on my second monitor as well. Then we go back to the Godot project folder, GDRE extracted for us, and you're gonna have all this extracted here. We can close GDRE. Then we're gonna create a folder called add-ons, and we're gonna grab mod zip exporter. Let's rename that to remove master from it. Remove the readme, git ignore, and the license as well. Or keep the license, I guess. Like so. And create and close out of this. Then here's our map template we downloaded from the main repository. See this mods map template. Just drag mods into our project folder. Now we should have all this set up. You can delete readme from here as well. The git ignore. Then we can open Godot, close out of this, and get rid of this for now. Ignore all this. This is just all the other stuff I used Godot for. Then we're gonna import a new project. We go to our, I think it's in desktop. This is my project folder I created. You go to whatever you call your folder and wherever it's located. Choose the project.godot, open, import. And this is gonna take a while the project needs to be initialized. Now that the project is loaded into Godot, you'll get this, just a menu like this, and you'll just go through and make sure that add-ons, mod zip exporter is here, and our mods folder is here, mods template, under our root folder. Then we can go to project settings, plugins, and enable mod exporter. This will show up down here. We'll get to this later, but then we go back here, go to globals, and we're gonna add all our, if we look in our mods, mod.txt in the map template, these will be our autoloads. This file is for the mod loader, right? But since I'm not gonna put the mod loader in our Godot project, instead I'm gonna go to globals in project settings, and I'm gonna mark these as autoloads manually. We're gonna go to NT scene loader in our map template, NT loader, call it NT loader, add, NT scene loader main.gd, call that NT scene loader, and go back to up one folder, mods map template, and pick this main.gd as well. Call it map template. We can change this later. We'll change the name of the folder and everything later when you're gonna name your map. So it should look something like this when you're done with the globals. I can close out. Now we can launch the game in the editor. You'll see it launch just like normal, as if you're launching the game from Steam, but now you're running it in the editor. We can go new game, and make sure to back up your save file before you do all this as well. If you have a save file you care about, respawn in like normal, go to village, and by default the scene loader puts our transition point here. So you can see here my map, enter it like normal, like any other transition point, and we are in our template map. We can go back, and everything works like it's supposed to. We can Alt F4 out of this, we don't care. If everything up to this point worked exactly like that, you're good to go. If the game does not launch in the editor, or the transition point does not show up, you go back and redo the steps we just did from the start. So once we made sure the game functions properly and loads our map, it's time to go into our map file to check out our custom map, and I'll go through all the entire setup. So go my map CSN, and the first, as you can see, our map is loaded. We have all these nodes here, and I'm gonna go through them. The first kind of gotcha thing here is this name for the root node in your map needs to remain map. Because the game uses that to get the nodes down here, like core, for example. This contains your player, your camera, and all that. So this is used as an absolute path when the game tries to reach all of this stuff. So this needs to stay the map, capital M A P. Next here is NT surface generator. This is just a tool script I wrote to generate all the surface meshes needed for stuff like footstep sounds and collision. But also, as you can see here, I have this spawner tree node selected here. And what that is, it's an empty node 3D with all these rocks, stones, logs, all this. And these are spawners. This is the same instanced mesh spawner system the original game uses, but they require this, a collision mesh, to put all the trees and rocks and grass and stuff on. So what this does, it goes through the mesh, looks at the vertex colors, we'll get to that later, and creates a new mesh, which it then sends to the spawner tree. It also generates the waypoints for the AI, the surface tags, and stuff like that. We'll get to all that later once we have created our terrain. This floor here is just a placeholder mesh. The spawners, we go through that. Finalized spawners, we don't have to worry about that yet. Next up is our transition node. This is the exit from our map. As you can see, it's set up like this. Next map, village. These names right there needs to be what the actual name of the maps are. These are case sensitive. They are strict strings. Zone name, that's just what zone, the area of 5, Vostok, minefield, and so on. Current map, this is the map we're currently on, which is my map currently. Audio, these you don't have to care about this. You can look for all this yourself. Fishes, this is just a fish box for fishing. Core, as I said, this is our player, camera, and all that. Just leave it in here. Don't move it. Don't do anything with it. Just leave it in here. World, that's our skybox and stuff like that, and our time of day and so on. Just leave it in there. Same thing. Next up, water. This is our water. And here's a bit of a gotcha if you're not aware of it. This is important to keep in mind before starting creating your terrain, is that the water mesh and collider needs to be at position y-2. This is where the controller detects that you start swimming. So if your water is not at that level, it will not work. It will not be water. It will just be a mesh you can walk through. So keep that in mind. The kill box is just a box that removes stuff if it falls into it. Just leave it down here. You can go through. You can adjust it later when you're done with your map and know how big it is and so on. AI, this is just the AI system. We get to that later as well. So that's the layout of our map. Now I want to make clear that since we're working in Godot and we have like complete access to create whatever we want, you could just create the map entirely differently. You don't even need to use the mesh spawners. You don't need to use the original terrain shader at all. You could create your entirely custom terrain material. Or if you're not, maybe you don't even need a terrain, right? Maybe you're making a bunker or a shelter or something. So this next part is specifically for creating the terrain and working with the terrain shader and the mesh instance spawner system. So what we're gonna do, you're gonna wanna have some sort of 3D modeling software. I use Blender, but you could use Maya, you could use 3ds Max, anything you can sculpt and vertex paint in is gonna work. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new plane, scale it to 100, like so. Then we're gonna add a surface, a subdivision surface modifier, set it to simple, and we want to see it in edit mode. So disable optimal display. And then we're gonna go, what we're looking for is, you see the grid in Blender, the default grid size, we want 3 faces per meter, kinda, sort of. It's not super important, but this is just to mimic the resolution of the other maps and to get a decent result from our vertex painting. So that will do. Apply the subdivision like this. So now that we have our plane, we can sculpt it. Or first things first, we're gonna move it in the Z direction by -5, so it sits below the origin. Apply the position, so the mesh is offset from the origin. Then we can go into sculpt, and we can just make, I don't know what, I'm just gonna make like an island, something like that. Smooth it out, and we can add our water just as a reference and set that to scale it up. Set it to -2 on the Z axis. Go back to our terrain mesh. We can make something like this, maybe. I mean, that looks fine. Make it a little hilly like this. Select our terrain, shade smooth. Now we can take this and go to vertex paint, paint the whole thing red. And then we can go paint the island part black. Like, enable our water again. Something like that. And then we can paint like a path, maybe going from one end to the other. Something like that. That's not good. Go like this. And maybe a flat spot, like so. Then we can go back to edit. Select this area around the flat spot. Just flatten it out, maybe something like that. Got it. How does that look? Okay, I completely missed the flat spot, but you get the idea. So now what we have done is we have created a terrain mesh that's subdivided like this. We have sculpted it and we have painted it. The reason for painting it is for the terrain shader. Anything black here will be one color on the terrain shader or one texture. The red areas will be a different texture, basically. We're gonna export this. Go back to object, select this, export obj, go to our project folder, mods, map template, my map, files, maybe something like my terrain, and over here, deselect materials, we don't have any materials, select colors, and check selection only. So it's exported. Now we can go back to Godot. It will import our mesh. We can drag it into the scene. Set the position to 0. And we can apply our material. So surface material override. Quick load. We can just yoink the material from village, empty village, and like that. Now this is a bit here's another thing. There's another thing here. Mostly the terrain shader uses vertex colors like we just did in Blender, but it also uses an overlay texture for the roads. You can I think you can see it here. I think that's the railway from the village map. I'm not sure, but it's this texture right here. You don't want that, or you can make your own. What you would do is you would go texture paint instead and then create a road texture where you want the roads to be. So these materials here are selected depending on the vertex color, and then the roads are added on top using this texture. But we can just go make unique on this, on the material override. That will just take the village material we just joined and make it into a completely new one that's stored locally inside of this node. And then we can disable roads. So we get rid of the roads. So that's our terrain. Now we can select that in our surface generator, assign it here, terrain, my terrain. Move this up here as well. We can get rid of the floor we had before. And if all of these are correct, select spawners here, select waypoints. Make sure generate spawners and generate waypoints are selected. And then we can go generate. This will go through. So what happened here is, if we disable the spawners and disable the terrain, what happened here is it generated these 3 meshes. So the first one, black, if we toggle it on, that's where our black colors are. If we look at it in Blender, See, it looks like this. And a red color, like so. And combined they make the mesh. And it also generated the colliders. So for black, it applied this surface script and set the surface type to grass. And same thing for the red mesh. It set the script to surface and set the surface type to dirt. This is specified in the NT surface generator here. What it also did was take these meshes, send them over to all these spawners. So what we want is for the foliage to go on the grass, right? So it sends this mesh surface red to all of these. You can see it here. It's pretty small, but it sets this parameter here and then generates all these spawners. Now you can hide this and enable the terrain again. Now we can just go like disable the gizmos because it's a bit messy. You can disable the grid as well. Now we can take our transition and move it over here somewhere. Like so. Make sure the spawn point isn't in the ground. And this terrain is kind of shit. It's all slopey everywhere, but now we can launch the game again. Or actually, I'm going to show you a trick. If we go to map template main, we can uncomment this, and the game is just going to load the village for us. We don't have to go out of the cabin or click new game and all that. Here we are, our basic custom map. Everything looks fine. And Alt F4 out of that. And well, now I think that's it for the terrain and the mesh system. Obviously, if you want to make something more complex, like for say you want to use more vertex colors, more materials for your terrain, and have the spawners spawn on different colors than just the black areas, you're gonna have to update this script. It's a bit of a mess, but if you're familiar with programming, you should be able to figure it out and add the functionality you need. Or just probably rewrite this into something better. But if all you need is foliage on black, dirt road, this is a good start. Also, I forgot to mention, if you want to customize the spawners, you can go through them like this. So you would, for example, if you wanted the tree density to be higher, you would go to the tree spawner, go to this data, make unique, and I don't know, double this, and then you can generate. Or you could set min distance to 1, and you get a bunch of trees. You could set it to a higher value, generate. So you could play around with all this. I haven't played around too much with all this, but you get the point. If you want something to go along the normals, for example, you would go like this, and you get the trees. They will be rotated along the normals of the mesh. Obviously, that looks really weird for trees, but it happens for the grass and all the other stuff. Future note time here. A thing I forgot to mention in the video is once you're done with your map, you're completely done. You're done with your terrain. You're done with your vertex painting. You're done setting up the foliage, and you're ready to move on to creating the navigation mesh and the AI and all that. What you want to do is select all your spawners, go to utility and click finalize, and then move all your spawners over to the finalized spawners node, just to make sure that you don't override them. Because once you create your nav mesh, if you regenerate like the trees and the rocks and all that, obviously the nav mesh is gonna be incorrect. So now the last part is the nav mesh for the AI. If you're gonna have AI on your map, uh, this I do not have a good answer for. I can show you what it looks like on one of the default maps on village, for example. So if we go enable gizmos, you see all this mess, the blue green ish stuff. That's the nav mesh, and you can see it excludes literally every collider on the map you don't want the AI to walk through. And it even extends inside buildings like this. I don't know how these were made. I suspect they were made by hand. I'm not exactly sure. My solution to this was, well, I can show you what happens if you just take the terrain mesh and you go create navigation mesh. You get this, view gizmos. You get this, right? And you disable the spawners. You get a fully uniform mesh. And this won't work because the AI will walk through the trees and through buildings and stuff like that. So what I did, and I don't even recommend doing this because it was a pain in the ass. But what I did was export the entire scene. Obviously, you would disable all this stuff first, but I can show you just to show you, I guess. Put it like here. Map export or Navmesh. Like so. It would export the entire scene as a model, and then in Blender create a new collection, Navmesh, import it here. You get this mess. And what I did was, I don't even remember what I did, but I think I selected all of these, cleared parent, so we get all of this nonsense, went terrain, create a new collection, move this to collection 3, and go colliders, search for all the colliders, select all, invert the selection, delete, and you have only the colliders left, like so. And then we can move all that. don't know what these rocks are. That would be all the trees then. Then we join them. We join them. Oh, it's a mess. We have all these empties. Delete the empties. Join the colliders. Name it trees. Where did the terrain go? Oh, we have a terrain here. Before. Oh, that's the terrain. Duplicate that. Move it to Navmesh. Disable this again. Terrain. Trees. And then I think I did go to terrain, select all, vertex group, add them to a group, assign, so they all are assigned to a vertex group. Then go modifiers, boolean, select trees, and yeah, object mode. You get this a boolean operation on our mesh with all the trees. Apply it, select all, go back to vertex groups, and deselect everything in the groups. Now we're just gonna do that again. Deselect everything in the vertex groups. Delete vertex. Press L on this to select the actual mesh. In vertex selection, delete all these vertices. Go to select, loose geometry. Select loose geometry. You get all these random edges around here. Delete edges. You get this. So now we have this, right? Very crude navigation mesh, but we also need to do one more thing. If we set our rotation to one of the axes, take select vertex, activate X-ray with Alt C, select all of this, and delete. Because the AI shouldn't path below the water, right? Now we can take this, export it, OBJ, Navmesh, and we can put it in. Go back to Godot, put it on our scene, set the position to 0, and we can go up here. If we select the nav mesh, create navigation mesh. We can take the navigation region, put it under AI. It doesn't need to go here, but that's where it belongs. So then we can delete the nav mesh, the mesh, not the region, and we have our nav mesh set up. Now we go to AI, set first of all, set these spawn limit and spawn pool to their default values. I think they are at 0 in the template, but set them to their defaults. And we can set spawn distance to like 5. Since this is such a small map, we won't be able to test it without setting the small spawn distance to something very low, 2 even. And then we're gonna need to generate our waypoints. Only generated 1 waypoint. And we can take that and duplicate it, I guess. and we can take both of these. Now, the AI system, how it works is you have all these waypoints, right? I think if we search here, we get all of these points, and I can explain what all of them are. So AI CP, this is a cover point. This is where the AI will run to when they're scared or hiding. AI hide point is where sometimes the system spawns a hider, a special AI flagged as a hider. They will always hide in hide points. These are usually in buildings and stuff like that. AI PP, it's a peak point. These are, I think if it's easier if we look at a building, so just go like shed, house, village, shed. Here you can see all the buildings. If we go like village, barn, village, all of these scenes, these are pre configured buildings, so you can use these with no problem in your custom map as well. But I just want to show them as an example for how to use the AI points. So we have an AI spawn point in here, a hide point, a waypoint, a cover point, cover points all around the building. These points just inform what the AI will do, and you will need them in your map for the AI to behave properly. This didn't have a peak point, but usually the peak points are like on the windows. That's what that is. Spawn point, it's just a spawn point. That's where an AI can spawn. VP, I think is a vehicle point for the boss. Waypoint is just where the AI can go or where they patrol. So right now in our map we only have waypoints, so no AI can spawn. But if we drag in, let's say, spawn point here, the spawn point here, you can also, this is a thing I found out, if you can tag these as multiple spawn points. So like if you have an AI waypoint like this, and you go to groups up here, you can also mark it as a spawn point. Now you won't be able to tell when you look at it, so it's a bit confusing. So you're better off just using the prefabs or the templates for this. But we can add another spawn point like over here maybe, and a waypoint somewhere over here. So that's how that works. Now we can try it out. But first I'm going to go back to our main. This is the map template main, not the scene loader. And go back down here and use this instead. So we can load into the game and test our AI faster. So just go load from to custom village to my map. This will just load into our map directly from the menu without having to load the save and all that. Now, obviously, we're gonna get murked as soon as we load in here because the map is so small, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, there's an AI. It's spawning in. And I think I forgot this rock in the Navmesh, so he's gonna walk through it. No? He's just gonna shoot me. That's fine. I did forget the rock. I think I even said, what's this rock? And obviously it's just the rock in the map, so we should have included that when we made our nav mesh as well. But anyway, that's everything, I think. Now we have our map set up, at least everything in here. Now I'm gonna go through the loader script for the map. So back to main, and right on top of here, this will be, let's actually go through this. So what are we gonna name our map? I'm gonna name it like hard-boiled island. I don't know. And the shelter, this, you set this to true if you want it to be a shelter. I'll go through this in a bit. So if you're creating a shelter, we'll get to that in a bit. But for now, we're just gonna rename our map. So we go my map. We have it open right here. And we sense this hard boiled island. Now these map names are important. They're not arbitrary. So if you wanna, when you're renaming your map, it's important that you keep it consistent. All right, let's go through this as well, just for clarity. This is the loader. It's this one in here, NT loader. It has a couple functions, mainly register injected scene. This is what we use for injecting stuff into existing maps. Since, let's say, we want to add our entrance to our map in village, we can't do that directly in the village because that's not going to be packaged up with our mod. So right now, this is just the OG village map, right? So what we do is we have this scene, village inject, that we take. And this is what the scene loader does. It takes this dummy inject scene and it puts it in the village map. That's how that ends up there, right? So that's what we're putting in. We are injecting this into village. We're not editing village directly because we're not packaging village with our mod. We're not overriding the village scene. That's why we need to do this. And this takes a map name. Actually, it's easier if we look here. It takes a map name, village, and a loaded packed scene. And this is obviously this copy path. If you're not putting your entrance in village, obviously you would change this to whatever map name you're doing, and do the same thing we just did in village. And I guess rename this file. You don't need to rename this, but oh, one more thing. We can go through the transition as well, included in the inject. So this is the transition point. You set your map name here. So now we have changed it to hard boiled island. Save it. And we also need to go to my map and change the transition here. Current map, hard boiled island. Next function here is register scene transition. This registers our transition. So what we just edited here. And we use it like this. Register scene transition, village, map name, transition village. So when we're going from village to hard-boiled island, this is where we will spawn. And if you look in our map, that this string here is this node name. This string here is this node name. Now, if you want to make a shelter, there's a couple of things we need to change. First thing is up here, set this to true. This will call into when we register our scene, it will be marked as a shelter. Save that script. Then we go again to our transition point. Again, this is the transition to our map. So we need to mark this as shelter enter. Next, we go to my map, and here is set on the transition point again, going back to village, is set shelter exit. So what shelter enter, I can go back here again. What shelter enter will do is will flag the player as being in a shelter, so you can enter decor mode when you get to the next scene. What transition village, what shelter exit on the exit will do is save your shelter when you go outside. So these are important that they are checked correctly. Shelter enter on the entrance and shelter exit on the exit. Next, we go my map again, and on the root script, you set this to shelter. I don't think this does anything actually. There's no logic check for this attribute, but we're gonna do it anyway. Just so that it shows up in the UI correctly. And here as well, this will be shelter location will be the name of the map outside of the shelter. And obviously, maybe you want AI in your shelter, but we don't. So I'm not gonna delete it. I'm just gonna set it to 0, 0, and remove the spawn points. And the last thing, again, on our exit transition, just set this to all islands. Make sure it's set correctly in our transition, hardboiled island, in our to transition, so next map hardboiled island, and in village inject, make sure it says the same thing here. Editor no time here. I just realized I've been changing the transition script properties from both the village inject scene that includes the transition underscore my map scene, and from the scene itself, making a complete mess. So now some of the values are overridden in the village inject scene and some are not, and it's a complete mess. So do yourself a favor and just edit it from the transition my map scene. Don't touch it in village inject. Now I'm just gonna go back to our main script, comment this out. Obviously this name is wrong now, but we don't really care about it for now. I'm just gonna comment it out because I want to spawn into our cabin. Just so we get our cabin back with a bunch of furniture in it. Grab this, grab this, grab this, grab this. And we're gonna go make sure our new shelter works. We can enter decor mode, good. We can place some of the furniture. Obviously, the terrain is pretty uneven, so placing furniture is a bit awkward. Obviously you wouldn't make a shelter like this, I hope. But we can put some stuff in here just for testing. We and run out of here is to confirm that it saves properly and go back in. Seems fine. Are the items here? Yes, they are. One more test. Go quit game from the menu, not Alt F4. Launch again. Click load, and it should load our shelter. And it spawns us on the spawn point correctly. Our furniture is still here, our stuff is still here. So it works. Everything is set up properly. So that's how you make a shelter. Obviously, I don't think you would do this, right? Like just have an island as a shelter. Most likely you would build that indoors area. And there are a few things you want to be aware of when making a shelter. We can look at the cabin for reference. It has its own subscene. Here we go. So this is cabin, this is the scene, we go cabin, the resource here. We can go this, you can see all the stuff. So what happens in a shelter is it has this node, collection node here called defaults. These are all the furniture that are in the shelter initially. So you can see all of these have this F suffix that means furniture. You can look at one of these like so. And are they tagged with some? Yes, they're tagged as furniture on the collision, so you can pick them up and so on. And if you want to do that, you could take this, you could just yoink this from cabin, put it in our map, just like so. And this would be the furniture that's in place in your shelter initially, right? So what happens is when you enter a shelter for the first time, it will load this entire scene and it will see, okay, it has all this furniture. This has not been loaded yet, but it has all this furniture. So this will become the initial save. The next time the shelter is loaded, it looks at all the furniture in the scene, removes it, and then looks at the save and repopulates the scene with everything, with all the saved furniture. So the next time you load the scene, all of this will be gone, and it will load whatever was left when you last saved it, if that makes sense. So I think that's a good heuristic to follow. Have a default like this with a bunch of furniture in it. That's the stuff you want. I think obviously this is not a furniture. This is the fireplace. This can't be picked up. This can't be, so anything like that is not gonna be removed. Anything that's tagged as furniture will be removed when you load the save, and then it will load all the furniture in your save. It sounds complex, but it all happens automatically by the loader, so you don't have to worry about it. You just need to be aware of it. Another thing here, this is your, if you go like this at data, This will load your user preferences. So here's all your saves, and you can see here, this is the saved shelter right now, the one that just was just created when we entered the scene for the first time earlier. If you run into problems or you want to change the name or something gets fucked up with your shelter, delete this like so, and then it will be recreated next time you load it. And so we're done with our map. I think I've covered everything. If there's something I forgot, I'll put it in the comments to this video and on the GitHub repo. But I think I've covered everything for now. So it's time to export our mod. And to do that, we go first thing, if you're using Nexus Vertex Painter, it's important that there's no node called vertex color data here. We need to bake it like we did earlier. So, and turn it off. So this is just a normal mesh with baked vertex color on it, no plugin shenanigans. And then we go, just to make sure, plugin mod exporter is enabled, and it should show up down here. Now before we do anything, I suggest you go into add-ons, mod exporter, plugin.gd, go to line 29, we can do Control F and search for zip, and the other one, line 29, and change this to VMC. We want to export our zip file as a VMC, the chosen file extension by the Vostok modding community, specifically because when we ship our mods as zip, the user will download the zip file and export it instead of just placing the zip file where you tell them to. So that's why we do that. Then we can go scan. Oh, before we do that, actually, let's go into our mod.txt file and set it up correctly. So our example mod here is called hard-boiled island shelter, I guess. And we can set the ID to something like HBI map. And this should all be okay unless you change the file path, the folder name. If you did, you update it here. This will just be the loader script. It doesn't need to have a name. It can be named map template. It's all good. Future no time here again. I actually do think it matters, so change this to something unique. I'm not 100% sure how the mod loader works, but I do think the old version disregards any auto loads with the same name. For these, the anti-scene loader and anti-loader, it's fine. This should preferably be only loaded by one mod. But if you have multiple maps, let's say 2 different people watching this video makes custom maps that they release, and the user tries to load both of them, and they're both called, the auto load is both called map template. It's possible only one of them gets loaded and the other gets ignored. So make this something unique. This updates is the ID of your mod. So you would go on mod workshop. It's this number right here. So before you export your mod, when you're ready to upload it, you will go upload mod and create your page. It will not show up unless you put a file in it, so it will just be visible to you. You can even set it to private and create a page for your mod, and you will get a number. You take that number and you put it here. Obviously, to load your mod, you will need Metro Mod Loader, but I assume you have that. If you don't, just go mod workshop, Metro Mod Loader, and follow the instructions here. When you have that, we go scan again, map template, export, and we'll get the Explorer will open up to our mods folder. This is our finalized mod. You see everything's in here. Now we go to our Road to Vostok game installation folder in your Steam folder, most likely. And you should have this mods folder set up with mod loader, with Metro mod loader. Take this, our extracted mod, drag it in here. I will replace, I already have it in here, but I'll replace it. And now we can launch the game from here or from Steam. And it should show up like that. Hard-boiled island shelter. Launch the game. And just to make sure everything works, let's go outside to our transition point. Oh, I have sheets enabled. Here we go. Hard-boiled island. It all works. I forgot to unhide the grass, I just noticed, so there's no grass, but obviously just show the grass and you'll be good. Everything works, the water registers. Just turn off the sheets to make sure. No clip. We can swim, right? Yes. And it's still marked as a shelter. Well, I think that's it. I hope this was helpful to people. There's probably some things I forgot to cover, like the terrain material. I didn't go that in depth on it, but you can look at it here, the terrain material, and just go through all of this to see how it, you can even check out the shader code if you want to here. But the way it's set up now is the default. But if you want to change like the grass, disable gizmos, if you want to change the grass, you do it here. The overlay is just a noise texture basically. That is just for variance to break up the texture a bit. The red channel is our dirt path we've been working with. You could set that here. Maybe you want to go like quick load, rock, text rock, text rock, normal. You'll get something like that. Now, obviously, it's very ugly with the overlay. That's even uglier. But you get the point, right? You would pick another overlay here. I can change the normal strength of the texture and stuff like that. You can go through this all yourself and figure it out. If you have any familiarity with working with materials and shaders, you will get it pretty quickly.